Woohoo! We're on our way to Disney's Hollywood Studios. We're going fairly late in the evening, although I guess it's early evening. What time is it? I'm looking to see. It's 6 o'clock, 6:07. Why are we going so late? Why didn't we go early to Disney? Well, there's two things that we want to do today. We want to go to the Walt Disney One Man's Dream, which is kind of a little museum about Walt Disney and how he came up with a lot of the engineering and artist ideas. And the other place we want to go is we want to see Fantasmic. It's been a long time. They actually had one of the cast members got injured, and then the dragon at the end of Fantasmic in California caught fire, poor thing, and burned down. So they kind of paused Fantasmic for a little while. It's back. I don't know if they're going to have fire effects tonight, but we'll find out. So we're going to go in the evening only to Disney's Hollywood Studios to enjoy the Fantasmic show. It's kind of a choice between Fantasmic at 9:30 and at 8:45 they have an animation projection show as well as some minor fireworks. So if you want to get a good seat for Fantasmic, you don't see the animation show. If you don't mind getting a bad seat or no seat at all for Fantasmic, you can go ahead and see the animation show and then run to get into Fantasmic just on time. But we're going to get a good seat for Fantasmic tonight. Not at the front, not in the splash zone this time, but we'll have a good seat. Here we are at Disney's Hollywood Studios.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, here at Disney's Hollywood Studios, they honor Hollywood. They give a little bit of a look to what it might be backstage as they're making movies. But in this case, we have Walt Disney Presents, from Mickey Mouse to the Magic Kingdoms and beyond. So what we'll be looking at is Walt Disney One Man's Dream.
It's raining. Let's go inside.
Yes, let's go inside. This is basically a little museum about Walt Disney. Thank you. This follows the history of Walt Disney as a young man. Here he is during movie making. This is a little bit about what he called the Florida Project, which of course ended up being Walt Disney World. The second park at Walt Disney World was Epcot, and this is an overhead map of Epcot as created by one of the Walt Disney artists. This map is actually represented at the new Starbucks Cafe at Epcot. It's on the floor.
Oh yes, I remember that.
We are actually showing him this.
Here's Walt at the Disneyland monorail. Walt is kind of hanging on to the door there, leaning on the door at Disneyland. Many people remember animators or reference animators as actors with pencils. So here is Walt trying to show some of the emotions that he wants to his animators to create during the making of, well, it looks like we've got Pinocchio down on the right. So this would be in Pinocchio. The little pictures behind are called a storyboard, where sketches are made showing the flow of the story, and then the animation fills in between those to create moving animation. Walt Disney has said that I hope we all remember that it all started with a mouse. So here is Walt and a shadow of Mickey. Walt loved railroads, and here's Walt walking through the mine train ride in Disneyland. The balancing rocks would be twirling and leaning. Walt would tag along with his wife Lillian, and she liked to go to antique stores. She went to an antique store that had a little mechanical bird that you'd wind it up and it would move, and Walt was so interested in that when he got back, he brought the bird into his Imagineers, told him to take it apart, find out what made it work. And based on that, he created the Tiki Room, and these are some of the birds that are represented in the Tiki Room.
And it's still the same name, Jose.
That's right. Walt is a young man and a little stuffed Mickey Mouse. Walt resting on some movie-making equipment. Here's Walt and old movie camera. And here's Walt at Disneyland with Mickey. He's in the fire truck. One of the things that they were missing when Disneyland's Main Street opened was a fire engine. And Walt said, "That's great, we need a fire engine." And he assigned Bob Gurr to build it. Bob Gurr built almost everything that had wheels for Disney for decades. And this is Walt driving the fire engine on Main Street with his good friend Mickey. The same picture of Walt walking down the railroad tracks, and another picture of Walt in the Tiki Room. Nowadays, the Tiki Room has a number of benches, but as he was demonstrating the Tiki Room to visitors and guests, they had just chairs in which to sit. Father and mother, and a little baby Walt. Walt with his sister. Might be Roy as well. In Marceline, Missouri, where Walt grew up, he sat at this desk and scratched his name on it, or his initials. Wanted to start his business, the Disney production company, Disney company. He needed some money to do it. He went to see his brother Roy, who was actually in the VA hospital recovering from tuberculosis, a lung disease that he caught while he was in the Navy. And he said, "I want to do this." And the next morning, Roy checked himself out, and he was getting a little bit of money from the government because he was injured in the war. And they took that money, that VA money, and put it towards opening the Walt Disney Brothers, or the Disney Brothers studio.
Cool.
Now, Walt lived in Marceline, Missouri for 4 years of his childhood, but it was an important 4 years, and he kind of always remembered it. You can see a black and white photo of Main Street, and sure enough, today in Disneyland and Walt Disney World, in fact, in pretty much all of the Disney parks, there is a Main Street, an old-time town, and it's very much like Marceline, Missouri. So Walt would write little cartoons for the newspapers, and he saw Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs at a movie show, and he said, that is so cool. He'd like to bring that to life. One of the early versions of his animation was combining a live-action actress, the little girl, with animated backgrounds or animated characters. So he'd put photographs, movies of her together with animated drawings. That was...
That together.
That's right. And that was distributed through Winkler Pictures. But Mr. Winkler had a contract with Walt that actually left Walt out of control and of the animations that he worked on. And here's Oswald the Rabbit. But Walt found out that he didn't own rights to this character, even though he created the character.
But now he owned it?
Well, he said, I need to come up with another character. He and his wife Lillian were on a train, 3-day trip coming from back east out to California. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, he said, maybe a mouse. So he created a little mouse. He said, we can call him Mortimer. And Lillian said, that's too big a name. How about a friendly name like Mickey? So they said, okay, Mickey Mouse. We'll call him Mickey. In 1929, he had the Silly Symphonies, which had music timed with the movements of the cartoon. So he was able to move from silent movies directly into talkies, as it was called back then. So part of the Silly Symphony was Flowers and Trees, and that was color now in animation. So they had colors in their animated feature. And it was the third appearance of Mr. Donald Duck.
Donald Duck, it's over here.
During World War II, the Disney company provided artwork in support of the military, either folks that flew aircraft or whoever the warriors were. They would present that to the military for use, maybe as a mascot or as some inspiration to the warriors. Walt loved this song, so do I. These are props from the live-action Little Mermaid. Mm-hmm. This is the Disney Wish.
We haven't done that yet.
No, we need to get on the Disney Wish. You're right.
So
here they talk about the wonderful ships. They say there's 4 unique ships. Well, pretty soon there's going to be 7. One might ask, how do we know that's what Abraham Lincoln looked like? In fact, after his, I don't know, let's see, was it a death mask or a live mask? But there was a mold taken of his face. And this was done from that mask. And here he is looking right at you.
This is Jungle Cruise.
No, actually, Jungle Cruise doesn't have dinosaurs.
Oh, that's right.
But Disney was also at the World's Fair, was requested by an automobile company to make a ride, and I think that was part of that. Here's the so-called Florida project, which became Walt Disney World. These are all pretty modern
Yeah,
photographs.
the new rides added on.
Now, the Disney company was approached and requested to build some support or displays at the 1964 New York World's Fair, including the Carousel of Progress and Small World. They also did
Ticket room.
did they Tiki Room there? I think
I
so.
remember
Yeah, I think it was.
talked about before about ticket room. They had that in New York, and they won't like that.
That's right.
So,
More live action, and in the case of Mary Poppins, a combination of live and animated. Old Yeller, beautiful story with a sad ending because Old Yeller is the dog, and he sacrifices himself to save the kid.
I don't think I watched this movie before.
Yeah. Swiss Family Robinson, story of a family that is shipwrecked on an island, and they build a treehouse with what's left from the ship, and there is a Swiss Family Robinson treehouse at Magic Kingdom. Disney has a presence around the world now. Here we see photographs from China and Tokyo, Japan.
We've been to Hong Kong Disney, but we haven't been to
That's right, we have been to Hong
Shanghai
Kong.
Disney yet.
We need to go again. Here's Cinderella's castle. These are costumes and props from the live-action movie 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Oh, we saw that movie.
Mm-hmm. And I used to scuba dive out of the Bamboo Reef Dive Shop, which was owned by the director of underwater photography from that movie, who received an Oscar for that work. And through the years, Disneyland California has expanded to a second park, which is called California Adventure. It references things in the history and areas of California. As Walt Disney and the Disney Company became more and more active on television, they introduced different characters and stories behind them, including Davy Crockett, Daniel Boone, Zorro. You had, kids, Corky and the White Shadow. Of course, the dog is the White Shadow. Corky is the little girl. You had the Mickey Mouse Club, and basically my generation grew up with these kids. Here's Spin and Marty up at the top with a horse. Their story is they went to a dude ranch. One of them's rich, one of them's not rich, and they kind of fight, but then they become friends. Here they are in the background with the Mouseketeers, and of course everybody had to have their Mickey hat, Mickey ears, to be part of the Mouseketeers.
At that time, it's so plain. Not like now, it's so fancy.
No, that's
so many different
that's
designs.
right. Now, Monty Markham was the name of the character played by the kid, and one of the kids, and Markham's is the name of the private dining or private restaurant at Disney's Millionaire's Golden Oak.
Right now, huh?
Mm-hmm. So here's things from the Mouseketeers. Annette was most loved, most famous. Now remember, we saw Buddy Epson as the dance guy. I talked a little bit about him. Here he is as the sidekick of Davy Crockett.
Where? Which one?
Davy Crockett has the coonskin cap or hat.
This one? The
And
real
here he
one.
is. That's right. Well, I grew up watching this on television, and television that I watched was about the size of what we're looking at now, quite small. And Walt would have Adventureland. Oh, sorry. Well, he would have Adventureland, but that was that was
Tomorrowland.
no, that's Tomorrowland. Frontierland now is Adventureland, and Fantasyland.
Look, they call it the Sundays with Uncle Walt.
That's right. Well, we had it every Sunday. This was what you'd stop every Sunday night and tune in to see. Well, he was called Uncle Walt because he was so loved. But this is where we were introduced to the actor Fess Parker as first Davy Crockett and then Daniel Boone. We were introduced to Tomorrowland and space. This is what space rockets might look like. And he would have, he actually had Dr. Werner von Braun, the German scientist who ended up in the United States.
Oh, is the real? Is that
And-
toy?
It is a toy,
Toy.
because you'd have to have very small people to put in that. So you had, this is Walt's office at the studios in Burbank.
Oh, he's working there.
And you know how we have Buena Vista Drive here at Walt Disney World? The studios in Hollywood, California, actually Burbank, California, were on Buena Vista Drive.
Same name.
That's right. So here is a model of the Disneyland castle. So this is the Sleeping Beauty castle at Walt Disney World. It is the Cinderella castle. So you have different characters, different backgrounds. Walt would say that he'd go to Griffith Park and sit on a bench eating peanuts while his daughters would ride on the merry-go-round. And he says it'd really be cool if there was a place that you could go, take kids, but there's be interesting things for adults as well. And that is kind of the inspiration for Disneyland. Herb Lyman drew this map in front of which Walt is standing. Walt was going, how am I going to convince the guys in the banks in back east to give us money, to loan us money to build this park? And before he went back to meet with the bankers, he had his artist draw this huge map. It's very big. And he took that with him and rolled it out. And he says, this is what we're going to do. And he explained all the lands and the rides. And they would give him the loan for that. And that map is now at Disneyland, California, in the entrance area of Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. Here's a 3D version of the map. The pirate ship up there was a tray service restaurant sponsored by a Chicken of the Sea, I think it was, but it was a company that caught and sold, canned and sold tuna. So you could go there and get a tuna sandwich. Walt also had a fascination with nature, and he added to his television show his true life adventures from Seal Island and Nature's Half Acre, things that would happen in nature. And he would send out film crews to capture all these wonderful things in nature.
We should see that. I never see that.
Walt's fascination for trains included building a model railroad in his backyard. Now, the model railroad was big enough that the steam locomotive was actually steam powered, and it was just big enough for kids and adults to ride on the train. This is a little bit interesting in that the fellow riding behind is a world famous artist.
What's his name?
I will think of it in a minute. Dolly.
Dolly?
Dolly.
Dolly.
Dolly. D-A-L-I.
Dolly.
Dolly, yeah. He's the one that makes the melted timepieces, the melted clocks in his art.
Look, they can take 4 adults
Uh-huh.
on the train. It's very strong.
Yes. And
This is the video.
yeah, this is
doing that.
this is in
It's pretty fast.
No, this is sped up. Now they had Lillian wanted to have a flower garden, a rose garden.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, very heavy too. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
a lot of cast iron. So Lillian wanted to have a rose garden, and Walt said, "Well, we want to have a train. So how does she get her rose garden?" They said, "Well, we'll just build a tunnel that goes underneath the rose garden." Well, the tunnel was straight, so you could see from one end to the other. It would never actually get dark inside the tunnel. And Walt said, "No, I want it dark, so I want a curve." And Bob Gurr is the name
Bob Gurr.
of the guy. And so there goes Walt. And I'm quite pleased that I have one of the rolling stock on the sister railroad that was operated in the backyard, not of Walt Disney, but of Ollie Johnston.
That's nice.
One of his 9 old men animators. He's the one that called them the old men. Now, this is the live action recording or recording session of Mr. Buddy Epson, a much loved movie actor and song and dance man. He went on to fame in a TV show called The Beverly Hillbillies. They had him cast originally as the Tin Man in Wizard of Oz, but he was allergic to the makeup and could not continue in that role. After the success of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and despite the not great reception of Fantasia, the Disney Studios continued with full-length productions, including Dumbo and Bambi, The Three Caballeros, and Song of the South. Three Caballeros and Song of the South were both combination of live action actors and animation. This is the mechanical control of the dancing man on the other side. We'll go around and take a picture of that. So each of the bumps on this moves a control arm, which moves a either lever or a cable, which makes something else move. So every bump here translates into movement. This is a very early version of animatronics. This is the dancing man prototype figure. This is a model representation of Granny's cabin. So outside there's wires that can bring electricity to lights on the inside, and those lights are out right now. But from down here, I'm looking into another room that has the lights on. I can see the kitchen back there.
Yeah.
So this is a good representation of 3D, using actual 3D to get that 3D.
That's a toy.
Yeah, that's a toy for a child to sit in and rock back and forth. Here's the 3 pigs. They did the 3 pigs story. There's another rocking chair, this one of
It's Mickey.
Mickey Mouse.
Even right now, people just say Mickey. They don't need to see Mickey Mouse. And everybody knows that's Mickey.
That's right. You talk about a hidden Mickey. You don't say hidden Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
Here now is our same moonlight scene, the way the multiplane camera sees.
And Pluto the dog.
This is the plan for a super cartoon camera. We call it a multiplane camera.
So here's a travel trunk that Walt and Lillian would pack up when they'd go on a cruise.
Different elements in the scene were separated according to the various
To draw animated characters, an animator needs to know what the character would look like from all sides, front, back, top, bottom. And to do that, they have a small statue called a maquette. These are maquettes from Disney's Fantasia, and it's pretty amazing. You have ballet dancing hippos and alligators.
The problem was how to take a painting.
In the background is the ostrich dancers. In the foreground here is the background. This is actually a background used, and the clear animation cells with the artwork go in front of that. But if you have them all together, that is just two-dimensional. But if you can move them apart, it gives you a three-dimensional effect, and that's done with the multiplane camera. This is a good example. If you move back and forth, you can see that the bushes and the spider web seem to move back and forth as you move, giving a 3D effect. And that's done by having the background, then the different areas, and the foreground up on top.
Several layers.
Mm-hmm.
Several layers drawing.
That's right.
From here.
This is a recording of Walt Disney describing this multiplane camera. Here it is in the studio.
This is the plan for a super cartoon camera. We call it a multiplane camera.
Multiplane camera.
The problem was how to take a painting and make it behave like a real piece of scenery under the camera. Different elements in the scene were separated according to their varying distances from the viewer.
There you go. That's how it works.
In this manner, it is possible to control the relative speed with which each
Walt received special recognition for this invention.
And here now is our same moonlight scene, the way the multiplane camera sees it.
More Disney merchandise.
We call it a multiplane camera.
You have to draw Mickey Mouse.
Well, that's how they create animation, is at a desk like this.
Even right now, the artist is doing the same kind of design the table and doing the art.
That's right.
In front of the guest.
So the very first movie with Mickey Mouse and Minnie was called Plane Crazy.
Where the word?
There's the airplane over there. And that was originally done as silent. But then when they did Steamboat Willie, they said, you know, we can make it live music. Walt had a lifelong fascination with Abraham Lincoln. He took one of his father's hats and put some cardboard around the top to make a top hat, and dressed up like Abraham Lincoln, and at his school, recited the Gettysburg Address for his classroom. And he did it so well that his teacher took him from class to class, all grades, and had him do it for every classroom.
Really? He's showing talent on the show.
This talks about some of Walt's history with trains. He would sell newspapers and candy on the train out of Kansas City, and he wanted to go out to California on the train, but didn't have enough money to get a ticket. In World War I, he was just a little bit too young to join the military, but his brother went away to the Navy, and he was able to kind of cheat on his application and say, "Oh, I'm old enough, not old enough to join the military, but I can be an ambulance driver." This is a picture in front of his ambulance with a little picture that he drew on the side of the ambulance. Okay. And that's our tour through One Man's Dream, story of Walt Disney, Disney movie making, Disney animation, Disney engineering, and Disney history.
3, 1,